Hello and welcome back to Mastering English Podcast, the place where we break down English for you. We take a massive stack of sources and research, and we give you the absolute most crucial knowledge you need to take that next step in your language journey. I'm your host, Alex.
And I'm Sam. It is great to be here with you all. Today we have a deep dive mission, and it's focused entirely on converting that massive amount of knowledge you already have, in your head, into actual confident automatic speech.
Absolutely. Because let's talk about the struggle. It's so real for so many of our listeners. I'm talking about the B1 level.
Mm-hmm.
And look, getting to B1 is a massive accomplishment. You have what they call functional competence. You can watch a movie, understand maybe 70–80% of it.
Right, you can follow the plot.
Exactly. You can read a simplified novel, you can handle travel, describe your hopes, your opinions, but, briefly, you're functional.
That's a great way to put it. That B1 level is the point where you stop being a beginner. You are firmly in that intermediate category. You've got enough of the language structure, enough vocabulary to navigate almost every daily situation that's likely to come up when you're traveling, for instance, or just talking about familiar stuff.
But here's the paradox, isn't it? You understand all these things, the passive knowledge is totally there, but then you open your mouth to actually speak.
Oh, yeah.
Or you're faced with a native speaker going at full speed in like a busy cafe, and your brain just freezes. It's like hitting a linguistic wall where every single word you know just vanishes.
That freeze, that wall.
Yeah.
That is precisely what we call the intermediate plateau.
Right.
And it is the central challenge that honestly stalls progress for millions of language learners all over the world. The research on this is incredibly clear.
And what does it say? Why does it happen?
It happens because your passive knowledge, so your ability to recognize and understand words, idioms, grammar, it just far, far outpaces your active production.
So my brain knows the rule when I'm sitting quietly in my study room, but my mouth hasn't been trained to pull out that rule and use it fast enough when the pressure's on. Is that the gap we're talking about?
That is precisely the gap, and that gap creates hesitation. It forces you to rely on that agonizing, slow mental translation.
The worst.
It's the worst. And it completely ruins the natural rhythm and the intonation of English.
Okay, let's unpack that a little more, that cognitive delay. What's happening in the brain there?
Okay, think of it this way. We can use an analogy. It's like knowing all the rules of driving from a textbook.
Right. I can pass the written test, no problem.
Exactly. You could pass it with flying colors. That's your passive B1 knowledge. But you've never actually sat behind the wheel of a car. You've never had to coordinate the clutch, the gas, the steering, the mirrors, all at the same time, while a real-world scenario is unfolding around you.
So when I finally get in the car, I freeze. Because the mechanics aren't automatic yet. I'm thinking about each step, one by one, instead of just doing it.
Exactly. The process of retrieving and articulating these complex structures in real time is just too slow. It's too sequential. You hear a friend speak fast, and even though you knew all the individual words they used, it's the speed, the connected speech, the way words blend together. That's what causes you to stumble.
So it's the difference between knowing a word and having what did you call it? The kinetic motor skill.
The kinetic motor skill to produce it spontaneously. That's the difference.
That makes the solution so much clearer. We need motor skill training for the mouth. So today, we're giving you the precise, structured tools to break through that freeze. We're going to reveal the specific high-intensity techniques that professional polyglots use to turn that passive knowledge into immediate, confident speech. And it all starts with these high-intensity, very short daily routines.
And as a little hook to keep you listening, we are going to dive deep into the art of describing your busy life. We'll have a pop quiz later on, the subtle but honestly crucial difference between being merely busy and describing your morning as genuinely hectic. A little bit of nuance is key for B2 vocabulary, so stick around for that.
Ooh, that sounds like a very practical upgrade. I need that one. Before we jump into the structure of this 20-minute power cycle, please do us a huge favor. If you're finding this deep dive useful, remember to subscribe to Mastering English Podcast and hit that like button right now. Your support truly helps us reach more learners who might be feeling stuck on that B1 plateau. Okay, so let's unpack this idea of being stuck at B1 a bit more. We said you have functional competence, but why is this intermediate plateau so uniquely difficult? I mean, compared to the very beginning stages, like A1 or A2, that felt like I was making progress every single day.
That's a crucial structural question. Because at A1 and A2, the task is purely one of absorption and recognition. You're learning completely new words, simple grammar rules. And your brain loves that. It's a straightforward path. Input, input, input.
Right. Everything is new and exciting.
Exactly. But once you hit B1, the task changes dramatically. It requires a complete cognitive shift. It shifts from absorption to automation.
Automation. Okay, there's that keyword again. So we're not just learning what to say anymore. We're learning how fast to say it.
Right.
And I guess how naturally to say it without that little translator in our heads.
Exactly. The difficulty now lies in rapidly retrieving and articulating those learned structures in real time. We need to engineer practice specifically for that. For fluency automation, for spontaneity, and for accurate pronunciation, we need to force your brain to bypass that hesitant internal translator.
So if we need to train the mouth, not just the memory, how do we start? I mean, do we need to suddenly dedicate 6 hours a day to this? Because that just sounds completely unsustainable.
Absolutely not. And that's the mistake so many people make. They think fluency requires these huge, heroic efforts. The counterintuitive secret is the power of small steps. The core strategy, proven across psychological and linguistic studies, is that regular, short practice, 15 to 20 minutes a day, is dramatically better than occasional intense study.
You mean like one 5-hour marathon session every weekend?
Precisely that.
Okay, I have to challenge that. Why does that 5-hour marathon fail? Because it feels like you're doing so much work, you feel so productive.
It feels productive, but your brain absorbs and converts language into long-term usable memory better in shorter, more consistent bursts. Those long, infrequent sessions, they lead rapidly to cognitive fatigue, your mind drifting, and to significantly poorer memory retention. You try to cram a lot of vocabulary, you might recognize it the next day, but you can't use it a week later.
So it's about neuroplasticity. We're trying to build and solidify those neural pathways.
Precisely. And those pathways thrive on regularity, not on overload. There's a quote from Stephanie Marston, who's a leading voice in focused learning. She says, "A 20-minute daily routine might seem small, but its impact can be huge. You gradually see improvement, and you'll be more confident using the language. You are building a habit, and a small, achievable habit is always the easiest one to maintain."
Okay, let's drill down on that core concept then. Let's dissect the idea of consistency is key. It sounds simple, but I think people often mistake consistency for perfection, and that leads to failure. You know, when they miss one day, they just give up.
That's the perfect spotlight question, and it's so vital to clarify the terms. Consistency means doing something regularly, repeatedly, frequently, reliably over time. It doesn't matter how perfectly you do it.
Whereas perfection means doing it without any mistake.
Exactly. We are aiming for the rhythm of practice, not for faultlessness.
So in plain English, what does consistency is key really mean?
It means that small, reliable, repeated actions will deliver exponentially better results over time than massive, exhausting one-off efforts. It's the steady, reliable rhythm that reshapes your brain.
Let's hear those 5 distinct examples. I want to help our listeners really internalize this concept so they can use it confidently.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Number 1, formal. To achieve mastery in any complex field, like engineering or advanced math, consistency and daily effort is key to achieving neuroplastic change. You are literally carving new grooves in your brain with regularity.
Okay, got it. What about a casual one?
Casual. If you want great, predictable results when you're baking a cake, consistency is key. You have to use the same amount of flour, sugar, and baking powder every single time, or the result will be unpredictable.
Right, no guessing.
No guessing.
Yeah.
Now, for a funny or weird one, my cat's insistence on waking me up precisely at 5 a.m. Whether it's Saturday when I want to sleep in or Tuesday when I have work, it shows that consistency is key, even for demanding pets who crave breakfast.
That's painfully true.
Number 4, historical. If you look at geology, the steady, consistent pressure of water erosion, not a sudden violent flood, is what carves massive canyons over thousands of years. Consistency is key to geological transformation.
I love that image, the steady stream being more powerful than the flood.
And finally, number 5, the philosophical one. Building deep, lasting character isn't defined by a single heroic act, but by the consistent, daily ethical choices you make, treating people with kindness and integrity every single day.
That distinction between the sudden flood and the steady erosion is such a powerful metaphor for language learning. Okay, let's try a scenario role play based on that classic burnout feeling.
Lay it on me.
Okay, so I studied for 20 minutes on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I was on a high. But Thursday, my meeting ran late, I was exhausted, and I skipped it. Now it's Friday morning, and I feel so discouraged.
Yep.
I feel like I ruined my streak, and I might as well just wait until Monday to start fresh.
That feeling, that is the procrastination monster whispering a toxic lie in your ear.
It feels so real, though.
It does. But here is how you counter it using the idiom. You acknowledge the mistake. You say, okay, I missed Thursday. That's fine. Life happens. But remember, consistency is key. One skipped day doesn't erase 3 days of effort. The goal isn't faultlessness, it's rhythm. Just show up today. Do your 20 minutes, even if they are imperfect. Regularity over perfection.
So the goal is to break that all-or-nothing mindset immediately. Just get back on the study path, even if the session is only 10 minutes long.
Precisely. You maintain the rhythm. You don't wait for the mythical perfect Monday. You protect your neural pathways by proving to your brain that the action is habitual and reliable.
Okay, now let's look at the collocations and nuances. This helps with B2 expansion. What phrases do we typically find paired with consistency?
You'll frequently hear maintain consistency, lack consistency, practice consistency, consistency in effort, and consistency in quality.
And what's the crucial nuance of using this word in, say, a professional context, a B2 context?
The nuance is that this quality is profoundly valued, especially in professional, academic, and business settings. If you say a worker lacks consistency, it implies their output is unreliable and potentially damaging. That's a major criticism.
But if they maintain consistency and quality...
That's a huge positive attribute. It signals reliability and competence. It's an evaluation of their character and performance.
Fantastic. Now that we know consistency wins, we have to address that beast you mentioned, procrastination. You said it's not a flaw, but a choice.
Yes, studies show procrastination is often an emotional regulation problem, not a time management one. We actively choose to delay the thing that will make us feel uncomfortable, even if that discomfort is short-lived. And learners often rely on these classic, self-sabotaging excuses to avoid that 20 minutes.
Oh, give me a few classic ones. I want to see if I'm guilty.
Okay, the heavy hitters are, I'll probably have more energy after dinner.
Guilty. And then the food coma hits, and my brain just switches off.
Exactly. Or, I'll wait for a quieter moment.
Which never comes.
If you live in a busy city or have family, it never, ever arrives. Or perhaps the most insidious one, I'm not in the right mindset today. The internal message being, the moment is never perfect, therefore I cannot begin.
The moment is never perfect. Ugh. Those excuses feel so persuasive at the time.
That's why the solution involves engineering your environment. We recommend tackling language learning early in the morning during what are often your peak cognitive hours. By doing it first, you eliminate the excuse before it even forms. You tick the language box, and you get to ride the high of that accomplishment, that feeling of, I did the hard thing all day long.
But I have to bring up the night owl concern. What if I'm genuinely not a morning person? My brain doesn't turn on until noon. Do I still have to force myself to study at 6 a.m. and, resent the whole process?
Absolutely not. That would be completely counterproductive. It would violate the principle of consistency by making the effort too painful. And this is an important differentiation. We're not talking about your preference for waking up being an early bird versus a night owl. We're talking about locating your study block during your time of peak cognitive function.
So if my focus and concentration don't really peak until 2 p.m., that's my dedicated intensive study block, even if it feels late in the day.
That is precisely your intensive block. You allocate your most productive hours for the most intensive tasks. So, vocabulary memorization, active speaking practice, complex grammar review. You can save the less productive times, maybe mid-afternoon or late evening, for more passive review, like watching English TV or listening to a podcast. You align tasks requiring high cognitive effort with your peak hours, whatever time those may be.
That removes so much self-judgment. If 11 p.m. is my peak focus, that's when I do my 20 minutes.
That's the freedom of aligning with your natural rhythm. Now, for those who do want to harness the power of the morning, how do we weave English into our existing routines without adding more stress?
Yeah.
We call this morning language immersion.
Give us the techniques. How do we infuse language into things we already do automatically?
Think of this as language exposure padding. First, morning greetings. Start the day by greeting yourself or your pet in English. Simple phrases. Good morning, self. How are you feeling today? Just force that first output.
I like that. What's next?
Breakfast buddy. Listen to a short English podcast or a news clip while you make or eat your breakfast. This aids pronunciation and a conscious absorption.
Okay.
Then there's mirror talk. As you get ready, describe your plans for the day out loud, spontaneously. Use the present simple. I'm going to work, then I will meet a friend.
And what about the physical space?
Task labels. Label physical items around your space with their English names. The mirror, the toothbrush, the kettle. This provides continuous, subtle reinforcement.
Oh, that's clever. And the last one.
Music and lyrics. Listen to songs in English while you're getting ready, and actively look up the lyrics to understand the meaning while you hear the sound.
The beauty of that is the language practice becomes this effortless part of what you're already doing. It makes it almost impossible to break that crucial consistency. Okay, we've established the when consistency, peak hours. Now we move into the actual structure of the routine. This is the 20-minute power cycle. So why is the objective to keep this so short and focused?
Because the objective is to maximize active learning in that short, focused time. A high-intensity 15 to 20-minute routine is often 2 or 3 times more efficient for fluency automation than a longer, more passive session. We're shifting from passive input, which is necessary but it's not enough, to intensive production.
So we're optimizing the time block for output. What's the first essential activity we dedicate time to in that 20 minutes?
The most powerful starting tool, and this is backed by some seminal language acquisition research, is reading for pleasure. According to Stephen Krashen's theory of comprehensible input, we acquire language through exposure, and reading material that interests you is the single most effective, low-stress source of that input.
Now, I have to stop you there because that is a bold claim. I've always heard reading is good for vocabulary, but are you seriously saying it's even more effective than dedicated grammar instruction for a B1 learner who still makes structural mistakes?
That is what the weight of the evidence suggests, and here's why. Formal grammar instruction teaches you the rules explicitly. It's declarative knowledge. Reading, however, teaches you the rules intuitively. It's procedural knowledge. When you read books that genuinely interest you, your brain is processing massive amounts of correct natural syntax.
So I'm just absorbing it without even trying.
You are. You effortlessly learn how sentences are structured, what prepositions sound natural, how verb tenses interact. And this develops an intuitive sense of grammar, what linguists call feeling right, which is far more effective for spontaneous speech than trying to recall a formal rule in a high-pressure conversation.
So by seeing the language used correctly over and over again, my brain starts to anticipate the structure without having to recall the past perfect rule from a textbook. That's fantastic.
Exactly. And you end up naturally using a richer vocabulary, spelling words more accurately, and performing better on output tests because the correct patterns are just hardwired in.
Okay, so we need some rules for this to do it effectively so we don't just pick up a book that's too hard and quit out of frustration.
There are 3 critical rules for effective reading for acquisition. Rule number 1, the book must be interesting to you. If it's boring, you won't continue, and you break consistency.
Makes sense.
Rule number 2, you should understand at least 50%, and ideally more like 70% of what you read. If you understand less than that, the cognitive effort is too high, and the acquisition benefit just drops off.
And rule number 3, which is crucial for B1 learners who feel like they have to analyze everything.
Yes, this is critical. Do not stop to translate every single unknown word. This interrupts your flow, it turns pleasure reading into work, and it defeats the entire purpose. Focus only on words that repeat frequently or words that are absolutely essential for understanding the main plot point. If you read consistently, you'll naturally acquire the meaning of most words through repeated context.
Okay, to give our listeners some structure, let's walk through a roadmap of recommended graded readers, moving from simplified texts up to advanced novels.
For those just getting comfortable, so A1, A2, you need simplified readers. Try Muhammad Ali by Bernard Smith, a simplified biography that uses accessible language, or Girl Meets Boy by Derek Strange. These are confidence builders.
And what about for elementary A2 to kind of bridge that gap?
Then you can move to slightly longer, often adapted classics. Look for editions of The Little Prince, The Secret Garden, or the adapted version of The Hound of the Baskervilles. These are structurally solid, but they still use controlled vocabulary.
And for our B1 target audience, that intermediate stage, what book is your top recommendation?
The book most tutors recommend for the B1 learner is Meet Me in Istanbul by Richard Chisholm.
Why that one specifically?
It's a lighthearted detective story set in an exotic location. It's inherently engaging, and the vocabulary is perfectly calibrated to introduce common travel and social interaction words without being overwhelming. It makes you want to read the next chapter.
And if someone is trying to make that leap into B2?
I'd say go for the B2 adaptation of Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. The plot is intense. It's a gothic romance thriller, which naturally absorbs the reader and introduces more complex narrative structures and emotional vocabulary. Then for advanced C1, you can try adapted versions of The Notebook, The Hobbit, or Jane Eyre. At C1, you can also start tackling lighter, unadapted genre fiction like mysteries or contemporary novels.
That is a phenomenal roadmap. Okay, activity 2 in our 20-minute power cycle. Daily dictations. They sound a bit old school, but I understand they are extremely high impact.
They are powerful precisely because they force active processing. A dictation is simple. You listen to short recordings, maybe just one or two sentences from a podcast or news clip, and you write down exactly what you hear. Then, you check what you wrote against the transcript.
I still feel like just repeating it out loud would be faster. Why is the writing component so essential?
Because the writing component forces deeper cognitive processing.
Mm.
It links the auditory input to the linguistic output in a unique way. Daily dictation is a comprehensive workout. First, it sharpens your listening comprehension because you have to catch tiny elements that native speakers often blend together. Articles like a fourth to low weak forms, connected speech.
I mean, like when I am going to, it sounds like I'm going.
Exactly. You are training your ear to hear what is actually said, not what you expect to hear based on the spelling. Second, it strengthens your spelling and grammar. You internalize sentence structures and morphology while writing, just as you do with reading.
And the other two skills?
Third, it enhances your pronunciation because checking your written version against the transcript instantly highlights where you went wrong. It forces you to notice real speech sounds. And fourth, it helps activate your speaking skills. By manually writing phrases and then saying them aloud a few times, they become much easier to retrieve and use spontaneously later on. It reduces that B1 delay.
It sounds like the perfect bridge between passive input, like reading and listening, and active output.
It's the ultimate cross-training exercise. Start with 5-minute sessions. There are tons of online resources with easy-level dictations.
Okay, the final part of our 20-minute power cycle, and maybe the most crucial for turning knowledge into speed, the 5-minute monologue.
This is the ultimate output drill, and it must be done every single day. The goal isn't correctness. It's pure, sustained fluency and comfort. You just talk for 5 minutes about anything, your plans, a recent book, or just describing the objects in your room.
And we insist this is spoken aloud, right? And ideally recorded.
Spoken aloud, ideally recorded on your phone. Even if you speak slowly, with long pauses and hesitations, the important thing is that you keep moving forward. This continuous flow trains your brain to form sentences quickly, and it reduces your reliance on self-correction. It directly targets and short-circuits that cognitive delay we identified as the intermediate plateau.
So the desired feeling is just forcing the language out, getting comfortable with imperfection until the speech starts to flow more naturally.
That's the feeling. You forget you're doing a linguistic exercise and you just start using the language. The monologue forces that kinetic change. It builds muscle memory for speech.
We've talked about consistency, we've talked about output. Now let's talk about a technique that directly addresses the rhythm and intonation issues that are so common at the B1 plateau: shadowing. It sounds hyper-technical, like something reserved for advanced interpretation students or, I don't know, spies.
The technique is incredibly powerful, but it's fundamentally simple. Shadowing means listening and repeating with the audio source simultaneously, just slightly behind, like an echo or a shadow. It was championed by Professor Alexander Arguelles, who recognized its unique power to train the entire linguistic system all at once, bypassing that analytical mind.
Okay, I need a spotlight on this, because how is this functionally different from just repeating a sentence after the speaker finishes? That seems way easier.
That is the core difference.
Yeah.
Simple repetition engages your memory and articulation sequentially. You listen, you stop, you recall, you speak. Shadowing the simultaneous repetition is a full-body linguistic workout that forces simultaneous processing. By making you speak almost at the same time as the source, you have no time to stop, translate, or check your grammar.
Oh, wow.
You bypass the prefrontal cortex, the analytical brain, and you train the limbic system, which is the part responsible for immediate automatic response.
So you're forcing the kinetic motor skill of speech. You're focusing on the sound and the rhythm over the precise meaning, at least at first.
Exactly. You're training your mouth, your ears, and your mind to handle the prosody, the melody, the rhythm, the intonation of English. This intense concentration on phonetics accelerates your fluency automation because you were practicing speed, not accuracy.
Okay, let's do an M2 deep dive on shadowing. What is the definition in plain English?
Shadowing is the practice of speaking the words of a native speaker immediately after you hear them, trying to match their speed and their sound precisely. It's the highest intensity drill for phonetic accuracy and flow.
Give us those 5 distinct examples. Let's integrate this into various contexts.
All right. 1. Formal. Shadowing enhances the prosody and kinetic motor skills necessary for spontaneous articulation by forcing rapid linguistic retrieval without cognitive filtering.
Got it.
2. Casual. If you shadow the character in your favorite sitcom closely, you'll start sounding just like them, naturally picking up their specific accent and speaking pace. 3. A funny weird one. I once spent 15 minutes shadowing a complex technical speech about particle physics. I understood maybe 5% of the content, but I suddenly realized I could perfectly pronounce simultaneously without stumbling.
That's amazing. What about historical?
Historical. The technique was noted by researchers like Arguelles, who observed that simultaneous echoing powerfully trains the entire linguistic system, ear, mouth, and brain all at once, similar to how interpreters train for their jobs.
And the philosophical take.
Philosophical. Shadowing is the practice of linguistic humility, allowing yourself to become the pure echo of another speaker, for you are truly ready to find and express your own confident, unique voice.
I love that idea. Humility before confidence. Okay, let's try scenario role play based on the reality of the exercise.
Let's do it.
Okay, I try shadowing a short phrase from an easy news clip. The committee decision will be announced at noon today. But the speaker is faster than I thought, and I stumble over committee and lose the rhythm completely. What happens next?
The key rule in shadowing is don't stop. I would guide you like this. You stumbled on committee, and your analytical brain tried to step in to check the meaning. That's okay. Ignore the mistake. Just let the next sound wash over you and keep the flow going. You are practicing the kinetic skill of continuous, rapid articulation. You focus on maintaining the speaker's rhythm, even if you just mumble nonsense syllables for a second.
So flow over accuracy. The flow is the physical goal.
Always. You can fix the individual word later in the dictation segment, but in shadowing, the goal is movement. Now, for the collocations and nuances, you'll hear shadowing exercise, practicing shadowing method, simultaneous shadowing, and interpretive shadowing.
And what's the crucial nuance here, especially about the source material?
It must be done with content that is slightly above your comfortable speaking level, but still comprehensible. If you can't comfortably understand at least 80% of the content when you read the transcript, it's too difficult. B1 learners should stick to easy English podcasts or graded audiobooks. If it's C2 level political commentary, you will spend too much time analyzing and not enough time shadowing.
That makes the process sound much more achievable. Let's get into the mechanics. What are the 6 steps of shadowing practice that our listeners can start today?
Okay, this is a structured sequence that ensures you warm up correctly. 1. Prepare. Choose 2-3 minutes of audio. Listen once while reading the transcript to feel the content and speed. Get a general sense of the rhythm.
Okay, step 1, prepare.
2. Warm up. Play the audio again. This time, read the transcript aloud, trying to match the speaker's pace exactly. This builds the bridge between the written word and the spoken sound.
Right, connecting the eyes to the voice.
3. The magic. Play the audio and speak just 1 second behind the speaker. You can glance at the transcript if you get totally lost, but the crucial rule is don't stop. Maintain continuous flow.
Don't stop. Got it.
4. Pro tip. Use headphones. Hear the original sound clearly in one ear and your own voice in the other. This allows for immediate, real-time self-correction of your pitch and tone.
That's a great tip.
5. Repetition. This is non-negotiable for progress. Repeat the same short segment 5, 10, or even 15 times. Like one single rep at the gym is useless. This high-frequency repetition builds and solidifies those new neural pathways. It's physical training for your voice box.
And the last step.
6. Record and compare. This is essential. Use your phone to record your voice during a shadowing session and compare it immediately to the original. You will hear intonation issues, rhythm gaps, and pronunciation errors you didn't even notice while you were speaking. This audit loop drives rapid improvement.
That step-by-step process really demystifies the whole thing. For those aiming for B2 or C1, what are the advanced techniques?
Once the mechanics feel automatic, you scale up the cognitive demands. First, blind shadowing.
So no transcript.
No transcript at all. This forces you to rely 100% on your auditory skills and memory. Second, emotional mimicry. Don't just copy the words, copy the emotion. If the speaker is enthusiastic, you must match that enthusiasm in your tone. If they are sarcastic, use a sarcastic tone. You have to become an actor.
You're transferring the expressive energy.
Precisely. And third, interpretive shadowing. If you're watching a video, like a TED Talk, You mimic the body language, the hand gestures, the facial expressions. This links linguistic output to physical movement, connecting you to the cultural nuances of expression, which is a major factor in true fluency.
That's powerful stuff. Now let's anchor all this hard work into our daily life by focusing on specific vocabulary, starting with the language we use the second we start our day. We need the words to describe our mornings accurately.
Yes, the morning routine is often called the first battleground of the day, where you fight the urge to stay in bed. And the first crucial distinction for a B1 learner is the difference between two phrasal verbs that are often confused: wake up and get up.
I confess, I often hear and sometimes use those interchangeably. What is the critical difference?
They are critically different, and using them correctly instantly elevates your descriptive power. Wake up is purely an internal mental state. Your eyes open, consciousness returns, but you are still in bed, warm and comfortable.
Whereas get up is external and kinetic.
Exactly. It is the physical act of leaving the bed, swinging your legs out, and placing your feet on the floor.
That distinction perfectly captures the struggle, that gap between being conscious and actually moving. I can wake up at 6, but not get up until 7.
Exactly. That time gap defines how tough your morning is going to feel. We should also highlight the essential grammar here. When we describe established habits and routines, we primarily use the present simple tense. I wake up, I brush my teeth, I go to work.
And for building narratives, for telling a story, we need those sequencing signals.
Absolutely. We need connectors to turn a list of actions into a smooth, natural story. First. Then, after that, once that's done, finally. That's what makes a sequence sound fluent. While native speakers also occasionally use will or ill to describe a routine, like I'll often get up at 6, present simple is the default reliable tense.
Okay, let's zero in on that struggle to move. We're doing an M2 deep dive on the phrase, drag yourself out of bed.
That phrase is so visceral and relatable.
I agree. Let's start with the spotlight. Why do we use drag and not just pull or force? What does drag imply here?
That distinction is key for B2 vocabulary. To pull or force implies effort from an external agent or a quick, clean action. To drag yourself out of bed implies immense, heavy resistance and profound reluctance from your own body and mind. It paints a vivid picture. You feel like a heavy, resisting sack of potatoes being pulled against a strong gravitational field. It captures the struggle perfectly.
I can literally feel the weight of my duvet just hearing that. What is the definition in plain English?
It means to force yourself, with significant internal struggle and reluctance, to physically leave the comfort and warmth of your bed when you desperately want to stay there and keep sleeping.
Let's hear those 5 distinct examples to solidify the usage.
1. Formal. After receiving the unsettling news regarding the department restructuring, she had to mentally and physically drag herself out of bed and face the day's corporate challenges. 2. Casual. Monday morning hit me like a truck. The alarm was terrible, and I practically had to drag myself out of bed at 6:30 a.m. just to catch the train.
I feel that.
3. Funny weird. My neighbor's chihuahua is so pampered that I swear the little dog has to drag itself out of its silk-lined basket every morning, complaining the whole way.
Huh. Okay.
4. Historical. In the old industrial factory towns, workers would have to drag themselves out of bed in the pitch darkness hours before dawn to start their exhausting 12-hour shifts. And 5. Philosophical. Sometimes the most significant act of willpower in a life facing internal resistance is simply gathering the moral courage to drag yourself out of bed and begin the next difficult chapter.
That phrase instantly conveys the person's mood and energy level for the day. Okay, for the role play, I'm the night owl listener. I stayed up late shadowing English audio, and now the alarm is ringing. Describe my struggle using the phrase in context.
Okay, I see you struggling. You hit snooze repeatedly, feeling that internal weight. I'd say, you know that feeling when the alarm rings for the 5th time, and you desperately know you must start your day, but your body feels like heavy stone.
Yes, I know that feeling.
You have to conquer that magnetic force of the mattress. You literally have to drag yourself out of bed. This instantly conveys your low energy level and your reluctance to anyone listening.
It's a very descriptive, powerful way to start a narrative. What are the collocations and nuances for this phrase?
The collocations are reluctantly drag, mentally drag, dragging myself up, and even dragging the whole team.
Dragging the whole team is an interesting metaphor.
Yes, that's the broader metaphorical use. It means you are forcing yourself and others to participate in a difficult, unwanted, or tedious process where everyone involved feels resistance. The overall nuance is that this phrase is highly descriptive and informal, typically used when describing a profound, negative, or strenuous feeling about starting the day. It's an emotional vocabulary upgrade for B2 fluency.
Perfect. Let's finish this section by fulfilling the teaser promise. We need to focus on better vocabulary to describe the pace of the morning, moving beyond just fast or slow, and specifically defining the difference between busy and hectic.
This is a great B2 distinction. If you have plenty of time, your morning is leisurely or unhurried. This suggests doing things slowly, maybe reading the paper or having a second cup of coffee. It feels relaxed and intentional.
And the opposite, if I'm just busy, what does that mean?
Busy means you have a high volume of things to do, but they're generally manageable and organized. I had a busy morning checking emails and organizing my schedule. You are productive and active.
And what about hectic? That sounds like a level beyond busy.
Hectic is busy plus stress. A hectic morning is full of rapid, frantic activity, often characterized by chaos, constantly checking the time or feeling rushed. The launch day was completely hectic, and I barely had time to eat. The key difference is the emotional load and the lack of control.
So if I had a lot of meetings, my morning was busy. But if I missed my train, forgot my laptop, and spilled coffee on my shirt while rushing, my morning was hectic.
Exactly. Hectic conveys stress, pressure, and potential panic. It's a much stronger, more descriptive word.
We also need specific phrases for quick actions.
Yes. If you ate quickly, you grab a bite to eat. This suggests speed and eating on the go. Conversely, if you have a long, demanding day ahead, you need a substantial breakfast, something filling and proper that gives you lasting energy. Other useful phrases. You freshen up, which means quick actions to feel presentable, and you sort out clothes, which implies thinking and choosing, rather than just mindless dressing.
We've covered the routine, the language, the cognitive shift needed. Now we move into the high-stakes world of real-life interaction, speaking confidence, and the silent conversation. This is where vocabulary alone won't save you.
Absolutely. Fluency isn't just about knowing words, it's about connecting with people and conveying meaning. And this is where the famous research from Albert Mehrabian comes in. He found that in face-to-face communication, words are only 7% of the meaning delivered.
7%. That is terrifying. It means 93% of what I'm communicating and being judged on is nonverbal.
That's the challenge. Your tone of voice accounts for 38%, so how you say it, and your body language accounts for a massive 55%. What your body is doing while you say it. A B1 learner may struggle with grammar, but if their body language is open and confident, they communicate competence and trustworthiness, which allows the listener to forgive the linguistic mistakes.
That puts so much pressure on nonverbal signals. Okay, let's break down the physical elements. The silent conversation we have to master to project confidence.
We focus on 4 nonverbal confidence boosters. First, a smile. A natural and relaxed smile when you're greeting or listening makes you instantly approachable and friendly.
Okay, easy enough.
Second, eye contact. Look regularly at the person, which shows interest and confidence, but be careful not to stare. Prolonged, intense eye contact can feel aggressive or make people uncomfortable in many Western cultures.
Right. Glance, don't stare.
Third, posture. Face them slightly, keep your shoulders relaxed and your arms open, not folded. Closed posture, with crossed arms, signals defensiveness or boredom. Open posture signals attention and openness.
And the fourth one?
Personal space. The general rule is to maintain about an arm's distance from a stranger or acquaintance. This respects cultural norms and keeps the interaction comfortable. Getting too close too fast can signal aggression or make the other person withdraw.
I can see how mastering that silent conversation would boost confidence more than knowing a single extra vocabulary word. Okay, once we start talking, how do we keep the conversation going? The B1 learner often struggles because they feel like they have to wait for the other person to lead.
We need to turn the conversation into a tennis match, where the ball is constantly in play, and the magic is in the follow-up questions. Don't just answer and let the topic die. Throw the ball back immediately by asking questions that start with the W's and H's. What, where, why, when, how long.
And if the speaker says something interesting, we need those little verbal nudges to signal we are engaged.
Those are crucial. They're called back-channel signals. They are short reactive phrases that show you are actively listening.
Really? Oh, wow. That sounds exciting. I didn't catch that. Go on. These are vital for making your conversations feel friendly and dynamic.
We also need to know how to get out of the conversation politely, especially if time is running out. We use soft exits. These are polite but natural phrases to signal the end of the chat. Phrases like, anyway, it's been lovely chatting with you. I should let you get on with your day. Have a great afternoon, or maybe see you around. They maintain a friendly atmosphere, but signal a conclusion.
Finally, we need a micro tool to stop overthinking before we even start the conversation. This is the ultimate tool for overcoming inertia, the 5-second rule.
This is a practical, powerful micro tool based on research into how we move from contemplation to action. When you feel a push, a slight instinct to do something productive like speaking up in a meeting, starting your English work, or getting out of bed, you count backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move.
Tell me more about the science behind such a simple countdown. How does it work as a circuit breaker?
It works by hijacking your brain's decision-making hierarchy. The countdown immediately moves your mind from the prefrontal cortex, where irrational thought, worry, and hesitation live, to a physical task. It provides immediate activation energy. Crucially, it creates a small window where the doubt is quiet, before the limbic system, the part of the brain that generates emotional fear and excuses, can find a reason to stop you.
So if I'm in a conversation and I freeze, fighting the urge to speak, I count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just force out the first word that comes to mind, even if I know it might be grammatically wrong.
Exactly. You link the thought to immediate body action. The goal is flow over perfection. You use the count to conquer the initial inertia and prevent the overthinking spiral before it even begins. That small move, saying the first word or just sitting up in bed, gives your brain physical proof that you can act.
That link between physical action and conquering our inner dialogue is key. Let's face it, the brain is often our biggest enemy, especially when we are trying to speak spontaneously. How do we recognize that toxic mental treadmill that prevents us from applying all these great tools?
We have to recognize the overthinking trap, which usually manifests in two frustrating cycles. First is rumination. This is dwelling on past mistakes or worries through an intensely negative lens.
That's that frustrating loop where you replay a minor comment you made in a group chat and convince yourself you sounded like an idiot, even though no one else probably even noticed. It's like a broken record player in your head.
Precisely. You magnify the negative and completely discount anything that went well. You're building a sea of fear entirely on ambiguous data, like when the conversation goes quiet for 20 minutes after you posted a comment.
And the second cycle, which is so crippling for B1 learners who are striving for perfection.
Analysis paralysis. This is the struggle to make any decision, including speaking a simple sentence, because you feel this overwhelming pressure to weigh every single possible grammatical outcome until your brain short-circuits. You're trying for 100% certainty or perfection, which doesn't exist in real-time conversation, and that keeps you completely stuck.
We need to catch these automatic negative mental habits, the cognitive distortions. Let's perform an M2 deep dive on the most common one in language learning anxiety, catastrophizing.
Let's start with the spotlight. Is catastrophizing just being dramatic? No. It's an automatic, involuntary mental habit. It's an immediate, unconscious, fear-driven leap to the worst possible conclusion. It's an error in thinking, not a conscious choice to be dramatic.
So what is the definition in plain English?
It means automatically jumping to the worst possible, most terrible outcome for a situation, linguistic or otherwise, even when the factual, observable evidence available doesn't support that terrible conclusion.
Let's hear the 5 distinct examples to clarify how this works in real life.
1. Formal. The board cautioned management against catastrophizing the minor fluctuations in the quarterly report, reminding them that minor downturns were normal market behavior and not a sign of imminent collapse. 2. Casual. If I forget one common word during my presentation, I immediately start catastrophizing that I'll fail the entire class and be forced to drop out of school.
Well, that's a big leap.
It is. 3. Funny weird. I forgot to set my coffee machine this morning, and I immediately started catastrophizing that this meant the whole week would be a disaster, inevitably leading to a total career collapse next year.
That's a good one.
4. Historical. Many ancient prophecies catastrophized minor astronomical events, like eclipses or comets, interpreting them into predictions of global doom, famine, and political upheaval. And 5. Philosophical. Catastrophizing is a dangerous practice because it removes agency, convincing the mind that fate is fixed and terrible rather than malleable and influenced by effort and consistent action.
That's a chilling breakdown. I can see how that automatic leap creates intense anxiety. Let's try the scenario roleplay. I forgot the word negotiate in front of a native speaker, and now I'm thinking, I'm going to fail the advanced casement exam next month, and everyone thinks I'm incompetent.
Okay, I would guide you to challenge that thought using a technique called cognitive restructuring. I'd ask, what actual factual evidence supports the thought that missing one word means you will fail the entire exam?
Well, none.
None. You are catastrophizing. Now, what is a more realistic outcome? You missed a word, the native speaker probably used a synonym, and you will review that word later. It's a small mistake, not a catastrophe.
You're forcing me to use facts against that powerful emotional inertia.
That is the goal. Now, for the collocations and nuances, helpful for B2 vocabulary. Tendency to catastrophize, avoid catastrophizing, catastrophizing spiral, and emotional catastrophizing.
And the nuance.
It's highly linked to anxiety. Recognizing this tendency requires active countering with factual evidence and boundary tools, otherwise it quickly becomes a crippling spiral.
What are the other thinking errors we must watch out for?
Polarized thinking, or all-or-nothing thinking. This is the belief that if your English practice isn't 100% perfect, it is worthless, it's garbage.
Right.
This removes all room for nuance and partial success. And mind reading, which is assuming you know what others are thinking, and the assumption is always negative, such as, they must be disappointed in my accent or my slow speed.
So how do we physically interrupt this cycle using cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT tools?
We use boundaries and grounding techniques. First, worry time. If you are a chronic ruminator, you schedule a specific short slot, say 15 minutes at 4 p.m., as dedicated worry o'clock. When worries pop up earlier, you jot them down and tell your brain, I hear you, but we will deal with this later during worry time. This trains your brain that worries are confined to a specific time slot, which increases your focus during the day.
That's brilliant for regaining control over the day.
Second, the emergency stop technique we touched on. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, grounding. When the spiral feels intense, you instantly pull your focus back into physical reality using your 5 senses. 5 things you see, 4 you touch, 3 you hear, 2 you smell, and 1 you taste. This immediately activates the calming parasympathetic nervous system, interrupting the emotional cascade.
And the third tool?
Detached mindfulness. This is observing your thoughts without getting swept away by them. Think of your mind as a busy highway. Instead of driving the car being swept up in the worry, you step onto a bridge and watch the traffic pass below you. You label the thought, there's a polarized thinking thought about my accent, and gently redirect your attention back to the present moment. Observing, not absorbing the fear.
This has been incredibly detailed. Let's lock in 3 common English mistakes that our B1 learners make when talking about their routines or applying these techniques, and use the knowledge we've gained to correct them. Starting with mistake number 1, the confusion of motion and state.
Let's nail these common traps.
I often hear learners confuse the physical act and the state of being. So can I say, I wake up at 7, and then I immediately wake up my children?
That is a classic mistake. You cannot use wake up to describe the physical act of getting out of bed yourself. The correction clarifies that crucial difference. Wake up is becoming conscious. Get up is the physical movement of leaving the bed. The sentence requires, I wake up at 7, and then I immediately get up and wake up my children. Using these phrasal verbs correctly adds precision to your routine description.
Got it. Wake up, then get up, then drag myself out of bed. Get up. Okay, mistake 2. Using the wrong verb tense for describing habits. Can I say, I think I will go to work every day, and I am eating breakfast?
That is grammatically incorrect for an established routine because you are mixing tenses. Routine requires the simple statement of habit, the present, simple tense. I go to work, I eat breakfast.
So why do B1 learners often use will or am eating?
Will suggests a future plan or a prediction, not a settled habit. And am eating, the present continuous, suggests an action happening right now, this very minute. Routine is a permanent, repeated statement of habit. While native speakers do occasionally use will to describe a routine, like I'll often get up at 6, the default, natural grammar tense for established habits is the present simple.
Excellent. Mistake 3 is a cognitive one, and it relates to the shadowing technique. The instinct is always to understand first. Can I say, when I shadow, I stop every time I hear a word I don't know and look it up so I can understand the meaning?
That impulse is so understandable, but you must resist that instinct during the shadowing drill itself. While full understanding is important later in what we call the active comprehension phase, the core goal of the shadowing technique is phonetics training the rhythm, melody, and flow. Stopping to analyze kills the continuous flow and defeats the entire purpose of eliminating that cognitive delay we talked about.
So you lose the simultaneous nature of the exercise and you just revert to that slow, sequential processing.
Exactly. Focus on continuous sound first, mimicking the speaker's energy and pace. The meaning comes later from repetition and transcript review. Remember, shadowing is a physical training drill, not a vocabulary test. Okay, it is time for the pop quiz. I have 3 quick questions for you and for our listeners, covering the concepts and words we've mastered today.
Hit me with them. I'm focused.
Question 1. In that 7:38:55 communication breakdown, what nonverbal element accounts for 55% of meaning in face-to-face communication?
That large majority piece, the one that makes the biggest impression. That is body language.
Correct. 55% is body language. Question 2. What is the cognitive distortion called when you assume that forgetting one word in a presentation means your entire career will fail?
That leap to the worst possible outcome based on fear. That is called catastrophizing.
Perfect. And question 3. If you describe your morning as being full of stress, chaos, and frantic rushing, which single word is a better descriptive upgrade than just busy?
That's the word we discussed to signal pressure and lack of control. Hectic.
You nailed it. Excellent job, and excellent job to everyone listening and participating in the quiz.
Let's quickly summarize the key strategies we processed today to tackle that B1 plateau.
We covered 3 major concepts. First, the B1 plateau and the fundamental need to shift from passive knowledge to active production, using the principle that consistency is key. Second, the 20-minute power cycle, which integrates reading, dictation, and the monologue, underpinned by the high-intensity shadowing method for kinetic fluency. And third, the silent conversation, so body language, and the need for confidence tools like the 5-second rule and CBT techniques to overcome analysis paralysis.
And the top 5 words and phrases we drilled in detail today, which will take your speech from B1 to a B2 level, were
1. Consistency is key. 2. Drag yourself out of bed. 3. Shadowing is a technique. 4. Hectic is in a stressful, chaotic morning. And 5. Catastrophizing, that cognitive distortion.
Now for your micro challenge. We want you to put the output drill into practice today, especially if you're a night owl. Your task is to perform the 5-minute monologue about your plans for tomorrow, using at least one of the routine phrases we discussed, such as drag myself out of bed, or describing your morning as hectic. Record it on your phone and listen back to it tomorrow.
And remember the rules of the monologue and shadowing focus on flow and sound, not perfection or grammar checking. Just keep the language moving.
As we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a final provocative thought, something to mull over or explore on your own tonight, building on the cognitive barriers we discussed. We spoke about the pursuit of perfection and how it often leads to analysis paralysis. So ask yourself tonight, is your learning goal making you feel more free and confident in your daily life? Or is the pressure to be linguistically perfect just adding another layer of anxiety and fear to your communication?
Are you using the language to connect with people? Or are you retreating into silence because the pursuit of flawless perfection has stopped you from moving forward? That distinction is key to true, joyful progress.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into mastering your B1 journey. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Mastering English Podcast.
I'm Sam. Keep learning and keep practicing.
I'm Alex, and we will see you next time.